So they're setting up everything that you would naturally do, legally do, as being lawless. This is filled with psychological projection. Everything they do, they're putting onto Donald Trump and his supporters. And Nancy Pelosi is running around saying Trump is an enemy of the people. The GOP are enemy of the people. His supporters are enemy of the people. And you have others running around totally dehumanizing Trump supporters. This is all setting up for massive violence against Americans.
I'm Dr. Duke with The New American, and I'm very happy to be joined today by Brannon Howse, who we've talked to before, an old friend of the show. Brannon is the host of Worldview Radio, and you got a whole bunch of things going on. Talk about some of your other entrepreneurial exercises, Brannon. What else are you up to?
Well, we've got one of the biggest things we're excited about is worldviewreport.com. This is the conservative alternative to Drudge. We link many New American articles there each week. Worldviewreport.com. We're about to crash through the top 100,000 of all the websites in America, and we've only been launched since June over there at worldviewreport.com. I'm working on a brand new documentary. Of course, as many people know, I had Siege, I had Sabotage. They can watch an hour of those for free at siegethemovie.com, sabotagethemovie.com. My next one I'm working on for hours a day is Brainwash.
Well, that's a great resume, and we'll come back to that. I wanted to ask you first, before we get into our topic for the day, what happened to Drudge? It's nice that we have somebody building an anti-Drudge aggregate. What happened to that guy?
Boy, that's a very good question. A lot of people have had speculation, but I don't think anyone really knows. I mean, there was rumors that he sold it, and there's rumors that he hasn't. He's still there. Whatever happened, it's not good. His numbers, according to numerous reports, are dropping like a rock, which is great, and our numbers are going up. Every time we check our numbers, we're again going up. We're about to break through the top 100,000 of all the websites in America. That's out of millions. Our main website, worldviewtimes.com, is in the top 78,000 of all the websites in America. And so pretty soon, I think worldviewreport.com will be in that same category and growing, because we've got reports from guys inside the national intelligence arena, active agents inside the national intelligence arena, looking at that website every day. We just heard from Kevin Freeman, a well-known conservative economist. He's checking it every day. It's amazing the number of folks that are now making that their homepage and going to it as the alternative to Drudge.
So glad for your success. And let's get into our topic du jour, the color revolution. Well, such a what a flamboyant name for what's going on here. Describe what that means to the listeners at home.
Well, I've been doing a lot of radio and TV on that over the last few weeks, and they'll find a free TV show at wvwtv.com for a whole hour. wvwtv.com to watch a whole hour. And a color revolution is often carried out by the intelligence community in America, usually in other countries, not our own. And in some cases, it's to get rid of a bad leader. And they go in with a psychological warfare program or a political warfare program, and they convince the people that this is not a legitimate leader. And they either overthrow him or they get rid of him after the election with some kind of coup, if you will, or overthrow. Sometimes they're actually working on the ground to make sure the right leader is elected going on right away. So they put the right guy they want. Not uncommon for America to put leaders into power we want as a nation in other countries. You just don't see the deep state or the shadow government or the intelligence community, military doing that in America. Now we have all the proof, hardcore documented proof of people inside our military, inside our intelligence arena, inside the FBI. John Brennan, who was at the CIA, who admitted to voting for communist presidential candidate Gus Hall. James Comey, former director of the FBI, was running around tweeting and quoting in a positive way religious Marxist Reinhold Niebuhr. We have guys that have come out of the military that are on the sidelines now, guys who are graduates of prestigious military institutions that are talking about using the military to remove Trump from office. You have Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, third in line to the presidency, calling GOP leaders and the president enemies of the people. I mean, this is all a psychological warfare program. That's what a color revolution is about. Political warfare, psychological operations, political narrative. In other words, brainwashing. So this is now going on in America related to this election 2020. This is the kind of thing the deep state, the intelligence community, the military, groups do in other nations, not in America. And it involves setting up the leaders being authoritarian, a bully, lawless, a dictator, would-be dictator. It involves a lot of things that you see happening right now in America, including getting ready to organize for strikes, violence against the police. These are all components of a color revolution. And look, this has all been a dress rehearsal. And even the Marxists have admitted what we've seen in the streets of 2020 has all been a dress rehearsal for what they're going to be carrying out, which by one of their own documents is burn down the American plantation, literally and figuratively. And the media gets involved. And now you have Don Lemon there at CNN talking about blowing up the whole system. This is a massive national security issue. Most Americans do not understand the bits and pieces. They see all these bits and pieces, but they don't realize it's a cohesive plan. From Black Lives Matter being funded by Maoist communist front groups, the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, that's documented. You have China involved with many of America's corporations. You have China owning meatpacking plants. You have many of the groups in America that are openly talking about overthrowing our government. And so you have a movement going on with China and Russia, and you got Iran involved. All the events of the world people think are separate. Many of them are involved collectively when you bring the pieces together as a puzzle, which means there's a global attempt to bring down America. And once America is removed from the world stage, then China and Russia and these other groups can do whatever they want. And reality is, as I document in my movie Siege at siegethemovie.com, Lenin, when he died in 1924, before he died, he talked about the fact that they would take Eastern Europe, they would take Asia, they would surround the United States and then collapse it from within. And this is what we see happening.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. We heard Hillary Clinton, of all people, come out the other day screaming that under no circumstances, not a single circumstance, should Joe Biden ever concede this election, that it doesn't matter how many weeks go by, she is absolutely confident that after enough time they will have found enough votes to sit Joe Biden as president, no matter what happens election eve. We've already dismissed election eve. The mainstream media is preparing America to go to bed on the night of the election completely with no idea. And if Trump wins, expect it to be overturned. If Trump is losing, he's going to lose by 10,000 times more votes. We have correspondents at CNN. You mentioned Don Lemon, Risa Eslan, who said if Donald Trump tries to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg with anybody, we need to burn the entire system down, because a sitting judge follows his constitutional right to simply appoint a replacement. This has been you couldn't have asked for a better preparation system for the radical New World Order types. First, you've got the lockdown with COVID. How docile and tame can we be? And we demonstrated really docile and really tame, followed by the Black Lives Matter riots. How much violence and carnage are we willing to take? And we're willing to take a lot of violence and carnage. And now, talk about a dry run. Tell me what more what do you think is going to happen when we get to election night?
Well, we don't have to guess, because the Transition Integrity Project wrote a whole report, 23 pages. And again, I did an hour on this showing the screenshots at wvwtv.com. They spill their guts here in this report. They ran these tabletop exercises. They admit that this is for the press. They admit this is for the campaign. They admit this is for the street people. This is a document laying out their strategy and laying out the narrative. And you already see these talking points being used in the media today, that it is dangerous. It is unacceptable and dangerous to expect the election results on the night of the election. They go on to lay out over and over that Trump is authoritarian. In my movie Siege, I deal with the fact that in 1950, one of the Frankfurt School guys, the Marxist Frankfurt School guys, Theodore Adorno, wrote a book called Authoritarian Personality. And by authoritarian, he meant fascist. And he actually developed a test known as the F-scale test to determine whether you were a fascist. Well, everybody in this audience, by that test, would be defined as a fascist because you believe in God, absolute truth. Some things are not negotiable. You just don't talk about it because it's black and white. You don't need to have dialogue on it. That makes you a fascist. So authoritarian is another word for fascist. And this document refers to Trump as authoritarian or authoritarianism over and over, that he's a bully, he's lawless, he will steal the election, that he will use the agencies to steal the election, that he will have the Republicans in certain states certify their electoral slate as though that's a problem against the popular vote. Again, that's what the Electoral College is to do. It's not about the popular vote. So they're setting up everything that you would naturally do, legally do, as being lawless. This is filled with psychological projection. Everything they do, they're putting on to Donald Trump and his supporters. And Nancy Pelosi is running around saying Trump is an enemy of the people. The GOP are enemy of the people. His supporters are enemy of the people. And then you have others running around totally dehumanizing Trump supporters. This is all setting up for massive violence against Americans. I said in my documentary Siege, we were going into a civil war. Some people suggested I shouldn't use that. Well, that was in 2019. We're in 2020. We are in a civil war.
You mentioned violence, and it was already put out there that if Joe Biden loses, there will be violence. If you vote for Donald Trump, if Joe Biden loses, expect violence. Back with you after the break. Dr. Duke back with Brannon Howse, host of Worldview Radio, and really a guy completely up to speed with what's going on with the deep state, what's going on with the machinations around the coming election. We started talking about that in the first hour. Let's carry that forward. Talk about the document in your hand, reintroduce it to my audience, and let's talk some highlights of what the plan is for controlled chaos undermining this Democratic election in November.
Yeah, this is called the Transition Integrity Report. It came out in August of 2020. It's 23 pages. Anyone can find it online. It's a PDF. And they run through these so-called tabletop exercises of what the Trump campaign might do, what the Biden campaign might do. This is not some kind of independent group. This is a political hack job. This is a political narrative. They openly admit it's for the press. It's for their supporters. It's for the street people. And so this is the game plan right here. And you're already seeing columnists writing articles that is almost verbatim the talking points here. Trump is lawless. He's authoritarian. He doesn't care about democracy. He doesn't care about the majority vote. And they make a big deal about the majority vote. Let me tell you something. This is a kamikaze pilot scenario in America. The deep state, the Marxist, many of the globalists, by the way, who are controlling the Marxists, the globalists, I've been saying for years, the globalists have let the Marxists and Islamists off the leash to be the junkyard dogs, to destroy America, bring down America. And when they are done allowing their junkyard dogs, the Marxists and Islamists destroy America, the globalist will walk in and declare a truce and offer up solutions. And many people in America will accept their globalist solutions that they never would have accepted without the chaos that they let the Marxists and encourage the Marxists and Islamists to bring. So this is a Hegelian dialectic that they've deliberately set up. Opposites colliding. The change comes from the conflict, as Saul Alinsky said. And this is exactly what Yuri Bezmenov, the former KGB officer who I show clips of in my documentary, Brainwashed America, coming out in a few months. He said there are 4 stages that the Soviets will use to bring down America: demoralize, destabilize, chaos, and then the new norm. And this is what we're in now, the massive chaos stage. And then after the Marxists and Islamists have destroyed America with a kamikaze program, the globalists will walk in and offer up solutions, and people will say, I'll take that because it beats what the Islamists and Marxists are doing, and it'll give us a normal life, the new normal. So this is what this plan's about. So everything that Donald Trump, you would expect him or his Justice Department to do, normal things like grab ballots and say, hey, wait a minute, these look like they're fraudulent. Let's take them to a secure location and let's analyze these. They're already laying out that that's him stealing them and grabbing them away from the public to destroy them and to hide them. So everything you would normally do, they've already got a talking point for why that is stealing the election. And then they go on to say that there will be people in the streets. Then they go on and accuse that any violence that happens is likely going to be Trump people, even Trump people posing as Biden people. In other words, the Trump people become provocateurs and they change their outfits to be Biden people, but they're really Trump people initiating the violence. So they've even got a cover for who's causing the violence. But then you add in people like Lanny Davis. Lanny Davis is now, former White House lawyer for the Clintons, is openly tweeting now about seceding from the Union. California, Oregon, Washington State, Minnesota, Michigan. He's openly talking about this. This would be crazy talk a few years ago. But is it really crazy? Not when you realize he goes on to talk about American corporations that will join them. And who controls and funds and owns the stock in a lot of these American corporations? China. When you talk about California and China, that's interesting. When you have a state senator physically removed from the floor a few years ago because she wanted to speak the truth about Mr. Hayden, who ended up marrying, of course, Jane Fonda. They gave him an award in his family and honored him there in California legislature. A pro-American Vietnamese lady gets up afterwards, after the family's left, and says, hey, let me tell you the truth about Vietnam and the communists and Tom Hayden. She's physically removed from the floor. You see, California has already given over in a lot of regards to China. And people need to realize that China and Russia have openly written, and some of the former officers over there have openly written for years about their desire to infiltrate America. And now you have Vostok 18, as I detail in my documentary Siege, at siegethemovie.com, what was perhaps the largest exercise in military history between Russia and China. And who are they attacking? Former CIA analyst Peter Pry, in my movie at siegethemovie.com, where they can watch an hour for free, says they were practicing through Vostok 18, the summer of 2018, Russia and China, attacking nuclearly America and NATO. Okay, so when you realize all of this is orchestrated, Black Lives Matter, Chinese Communist front groups, Freedom Road Socialist organizations, you have politicians who are in bed with China. You have Black Lives Matter. These women admit they're Marxist trained. You have them being mentored by the Weather Underground, Eric Mann. In their 1974 document, The Weather Underground praised China as the world model. They have a document now that's out there that looks to be maybe written by someone like Bill Ayers recently, called Burn Down the American Plantation. He has an article on his website on Burn Down the American Plantation. All of this is designed to destroy America, and then China and Russia can exploit that, and the globalists can exploit that. And again, most people see this as separate pieces. You have what's going on with China and Taiwan. Many people think that is, the big story. The big story is, are they really coming against Taiwan? Or ultimately, is that their prize, or is that a distraction? The ultimate prize is America.
It's a lot to have to chew on. Give us some examples. I've heard this too. Donald Trump is a racist, number one. He's authoritarian, number two. The racial thing has been dismissed. One comment at a Charlottesville rally, which was been debunked even by liberals. He never said there are nice guys on both sides. But give me some examples in the left's mind that justify their claim that Donald Trump is, quote unquote, authoritarian.
Well, he doesn't pay his taxes, so he doesn't follow the rule of law, right? And that's the narrative this week. He doesn't pay his taxes. False. I guess he paid ahead, actually. So that's not being – we put that out at worldviewreport.com, article by Dick Morris, worldviewreport.com. There's another article that was put out not too long ago, The People versus Donald Trump, how they're already preparing criminal case against him in New York. So everywhere you turn, the narrative is in the media that he is a lawbreaker, he's greedy, he cares only about himself, he's authoritarian, he's narcissistic, and he is a threat to democracy. Even again, Nancy Pelosi talking about that in his followers. So the narrative has been laid that allows for justification for this violence. In fact, again, some of them have openly said that they're going to stay in the streets and cause the violence until there's a solution, which the solution ultimately is them coming to the table and negotiating. And this document by the Transition Integrity Project, they even admit that, well, we might accept a second term of Donald Trump, but we want to negotiate the future politically. It seems to me what they're negotiating is an end to the Electoral College. They're going to create a lot of chaos, then come to the table and say, we'll accept a second term of Donald Trump, but only after you agree to eliminate the Electoral College. And I'm convinced that the globalists at the end of the day want a second term of Donald Trump so they can finish collapsing America on his watch, including a January 2021 conference coming up with the World Economic Forum on the Great Global Reset. So this chaos and violence, I believe, is all to destroy America, cause people to distrust our system, do away with the Electoral College, give justification for it, agree to the second term of Trump, but they'll continue to play the games they've been playing as they bring down America and then justify the global reset. And they can say, sorry, Americans, this is what happens when you go outside the system and put someone like Donald Trump into office.
Well, it is amazing. And now they're trying to act. The chorus cry is that somehow Donald Trump is acting illegitimately against the Constitution, illegally, by simply trying to fill the Ruth Bader Ginsburg seat. All the talking heads are saying it. All the media are repeating it, the exact same phraseology. It's a complete and total lie to the American people. And yet the brazenness with these kind of lies. Chuck Schumer stands up there and whines about how Donald Trump is going to, against the law, put this person in. That Amy, pretty harmless person, Amy Coney Barrett, is now the second coming of Beowulf's mother or something. It's pretty crazy. We only got a few seconds left. Brannon, please make sure you give a chance for people who want to find all of your information. Where can they go?
Thank you. Let me just say first, we normally would have police departments around the country that would stop this. This was what went on in the 60s. The police departments got involved, infiltrated these groups, stopped it. Today, we can't brief the police departments on this. The FBI would get involved, stop it. Today, we can't even brief the FBI. Many of them are part of it, the deep state, or as Trump has called them, dirty, filthy cops on the 7th floor. So we used to have agencies that would stop this. Now we have pictures of the FBI taking a knee to the communists. We have National Guard leaders, commanders, taking a knee to the communists. This is a dangerous scenario. We've been infiltrated from within, and they're collapsing us from within. And again, my documentary Siege at siegethemovie.com. They can watch an hour for free. Told you in 2019 this was all coming. We laid it out. And then, of course, worldviewreport.com for the daily news.
Brannon, thank you so much for your time today. We'll be talking to you again soon.